Hello, lovely weirdos. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about all the decks I bought last year, meaning in 2021, and what I think of them. Spoiler, it's 4 decks. I want to tell you I am a little bit under the weather. I have a cold and a little bit of a sore throat, but apart from that, I'm good. It was a little bit of a challenge doing that many tarot readings this month and more coming. But yeah, I've been drinking water, drinking tea, and all of that. Skipped the lemon and ginger. I should really do that. It always works well, but that's why I have this dramatic look of a scarf and maybe sometimes a little bit of a red nose, that's all. Anyway, the first deck, which I showed on my channel, that I got in 2021, is the Lartero. Very much vintage and out of print, although Emile Kazanlar, the maker and drawer artist of this deck, released a new version of this deck, but it's very expensive. The borders are now black instead of golden. Maybe the cards are larger, I'm not sure. And maybe this is terrible. I have no information for you. These are all guesses. Like, you can, just hop on the internet and figure out yourself, what's the deal with this deck, with this new publishing of this deck or release. But I just realized I'm not even sure if he's alive or not. Something in the back of my mind is telling me someone told me in a live or something. One of you told me in a live that Emile maybe passed away last year or something. Was that Emile? I'm not sure. Anyway, Dr. Emile Kazanlar made this deck. It's a gorgeous deck. I'm not ready to part with it yet. Haven't done many readings with it though, because I kind of forget that I have it. It's a beautiful deck, it's beauty, but I forget I have it. Probably also because I still have it in the box that I made for my New Orleans Voodoo Tarot. But I kept the box I made and got rid of the deck with a little bit of pain in my heart because the artwork is beautiful and just the history of it as well. I kept the box I made for it. I kept the book because that's a valuable book and very fun to read, but it doesn't really fit this deck color-wise. It's just the size of the box that fit the size of this deck, because as you can see probably, it's a little bit wider and not as tall as regular tarot cards. So I kind of forget I have it, but when I take it out and do a reading with this deck, something magical does happen, I feel. I'm not certain this is a lifelong relationship between the Lartero and me, but for now I do enjoy it and the artwork is gorgeous, and I love that the majors are all very much Tarot de Marseille inspired. Just look at the lovers here, for instance. And I love that all the minors are, from different religions. That's the whole idea of this deck, that it's a ecumenical tarot deck because the tarot is just the way you interpret it yourself, and it's not bound to just one way of thinking or just one religion or just one people. This is really for everyone, and this deck very much emphasizes this. All I have for this one is the little white book, which I do look into because we get the stories that are depicted in the cards, and with many of them I'm not familiar with. I do wish I had the larger guidebook though. Long story short, Kazanlar, beautiful deck. Haven't really read with it. It's like an extra in my collection right now for sure. I have a feeling it will stay an extra, which is why even though I like it and I like the idea of the deck, but that is, have to keep my eye on that, because that is how we get too many decks, right? When we like the idea of the deck more than the deck itself. Sorry about that, my camera is bugging a little bit. Come on, Clancy, you can do better than that. I was saying I'll get into that in the next video because that is something I want to talk about. But apart from all of those things, I think that's kind of why I'm not sure if the Kazanlar is a lifelong deck for me, because I don't reach for it as much, and I know that I might at some point, but it also includes an immense amount of study, like lifelong study. And even though all types of religions interest me, right now I don't really have the space for it, because 2022 for me is dedicated to something very specific. It's a very personal deity, and I want to do the deep dive with that. And it might not take me an entire year, you know, reading the books, meditating, doing stuff, etc. But at least for now, that is my focus. So yeah, Kazanlar, beautiful, very busy card, also very busy deck in the sense of I don't know all the stories, and so it's going to take me a lot of time to truly understand each and every card. The second tarot deck I don't have with me right here, but I will make sure to show the footage in the video. It's the Pierre Madenie Tarot from 1709, which is truly a beauty, but there are some things about the deck that I am less enthusiastic about. Why I got it is that I wanted a classic Marseille, because my favorite deck is Triomphe della Luna Paradoxical Version, which is a Marseille type deck, you could say. I know the purists out of you, out of you lots will say, hell no, that's not a Marseille, not even close, or it's a fake one or whatever. To me, it's definitely a Marseille system, okay? But a classic Marseille I didn't own yet, even though I did own a few at some point, but I got rid of them because I didn't bond with them. And I thought this Pierre Madenie by Yves Reynaud would kind of cure that itch, because it's not fully restored. It doesn't look like a modern version or modern super cleaned up computerized version of a Marseille. It actually still looks like the old thing with the old worn colors, and some lines aren't there, etc. Love it. This is the oldest known Marseille of this type, and it's from a region in France that I have a strong affinity with. It's Dijon, so it made sense for me to get it. Now, I work with this deck for myself, but I still don't love the valet and the roi, meaning the knaves and the kings. I still don't love them, and sometimes the limited color palette isn't hitting the spot. But apart from all of that, I do enjoy working with this deck, and it resides in my partner's place, which is why I don't have it right here, right now. But I'm going to go there later today and film this part. I do keep in mind also with this deck, the second deck I got this year, that I might exchange it one day if I ever find a very similar looking Classic Marseille that is on nicer stock. Because honestly, look, I love art paper, and I love the tarot to be a tactile experience. I love cards that are a little bit more stiff. I like thicker cardstock usually, but this is pushing it a bit, honestly. It's a great quality deck, beautifully made, really can't say anything negative about that, except it feels more like a piece of art that should be displayed in a sense, rather than an object that's supposed to actually be used. And I tend to use my tarot decks, so it could potentially be nicer to work with a Marseille deck that's on nicer cardstock, meaning not nicer to hold each and every individual card, but actually to shuffle and work with it. It would be nice if the cards would be a little bit thinner, and I can't believe I'm saying this, a little bit thinner and a little bit more bendy, because that would I would feel more comfortable also with just using the deck in the sense of knowing that every card is going to become a little bit softer, you know, those decks that we love, those decks that we work with, those decks that we shuffle, they do get foxing on the sides. They do get bent sometimes, but they do get worn, you know, the fronts and the backs. They do get scratches, etc. But that's the whole idea, like that this would be the oldest system of a tarot deck and the oldest looking tarot deck and the oldest rendition of a tarot deck. I mean, it was published in 1709, you know, that's a long time ago. I just feel a little bit stiff when I use it because the cards are stiff. The third deck I got, this is not going anywhere. I found it by accident on a Dutch selling site and I put it in this little pouch that I made a while ago for another deck that I got rid of. I think this was for the How to Deal Tarot, meaning Circo Tarot. Tassels and stuff. The Gold Box Tarot. This is a small size, as you can see. This is in German, unfortunately, but cards flying about. I don't mind. You know, I get it. Thoth. I know Thoth well enough by now to read in this language that I don't fully understand. So it's so incredibly wonderful to have such a beautiful Thoth deck that's suitable for travel, because as you may know, all I have next to this one now are my greenies regarding Thoth. So one Thoth greenie is for client readings. I will, you know, pack that deck up really well, really make sure the deck is secure, the deck is protected, and I do bring that with me when I do readings in the store for people face to face, which might start again. We'll see. I hope it does. And I have my regular greenie that I use all the time, but it's a big deck and honestly sometimes it feels like shuffling carpet. But here we have wonderful stock. Cards are smaller and yeah, that's all I need really. It's all I have next to this one are my greenies and they're vintage, you know, and this one is also very sought after, but now I have a small size as well, and the coloration is very different from this deck to my greenies in comparison with my greenies, and it's beautiful. Obviously, it lacks the green hue from the greenies, and also this was like a laser photography Thoth, right? So it's very different, it's beautiful, it's a very nice, handy little deck. I'm definitely keeping this one. So funny, right? That the first deck I got last year that I feel I'm definitely keeping you is actually a different version of a deck I already had. So again, it's not new imagery. It's just a travel size Thoth. But I make a big deal out of it because to me it kind of is. It's really quite beautiful. Very sharp also. If you ever come across it, I recommend this deck, definitely. This is the only tarot deck, or the only deck, that I brought with me to France for Christmas, and I did not regret bringing this one. It was great to have with me. I actually did a reading for myself on the train as well. Very, very nice. Yeah, I like it. The box does get obviously worn a little bit, and just because it's so cute and it does open up a little bit with the deck in it, and well, that's a long sentence. I usually kept a rubber band around it, which is why it got damaged a little bit. Once I noticed the damage on the box, usually I don't really care about boxes, but look, it's just so pretty, isn't it? That's when I decided to keep the box in the pouch as well, because I feel the cards are protected by the box and then the box is protected by the pouch. Fourth and final deck that I got in 2021 is actually a deck that arrived in January 2022 because I had ordered it really late in the year. I ordered it in December. I don't know what it was, but I felt the incredible need to connect to something I call a silly little oracle deck. I think I was watching older videos of tarot folk that are still making videos, or maybe stopped, I'm not sure, but older videos where people were on TarotTube, weren't showing the newest, brightest decks all the time. There's obviously place for that, but they were doing readings and talking about decks that aren't necessarily their art style, but they felt they were just great readers, just decks that read well. So tarot decks, but also oracle decks. So the idea that I had in my mind was like the Psychic Tarot by John Holland, not sure, which is a tarot deck, but it looks like an oracle deck, and it's definitely not my style at all. But I know from every person who owns that deck says they get great messages from it, and it's just a great reader deck, so that's kind of the idea that I had. Like, I want that type of connection with an oracle deck, and I don't want it to be an indie deck. I want it to be mass market, readily available, not that expensive, although I must say this one was on the expensive side for silly little oracle deck that is readily available and stuff. I did actually have to order this online because I couldn't find it in stores. But yeah, I wanted a simple deck with clear messages and still cute and beautiful. So I found the Empathic Oracle. This is the box. It's by Steve Wilson and Michelle Motuzas, or Motuza. Book comes along with this. Not really using the book all that much. It's a very intuitive deck, and it's very easy to read. My first deck with gilding, I think. It's such a theme, like the blue. It's easy, it's small, it actually does have a system, it's very accurate and very clear. It's all I wanted. I've been using this deck to start my tarot readings for clients this entire month. I mean, yeah, for this month so far. I know it's very early in the month, but as a tarot-brained reader, this little oracle deck is just really good. It works well. Pretty illustrations, understandable words on the cards, and just for that, it's reminiscent of my beloved Living Altar Oracle. It has the 4 elements, it has seasons, the sun, the moon. Look at that, just overall similar ideas. And some cards, like this one, Gaslighting, who I really needed to sit with, because this deck is made for empaths and the particular struggles that they encounter, which is obviously why it's called the Empathic Tarot or Oracle. I don't consider myself particularly special regarding this human thing that we usually all have, empathy, except for maybe narcissists, which they can't help either. But I want to say, without, making a joke out of it, obviously I have empathy. I can pick up vibes in a room. I feel along with people who experience strong emotions. But would I call myself an empath? No. Because to be honest, the word, it's a little cringe. It's a little cringe, but just for me personally, not, the people saying this, because it's just a word after all. It's just a way to explain what they experience in life, how they experience life, right? How they experience other people, maybe. Look, it also has the chakras, which is great. Just the word itself, it's like a trend, I feel, and just not my style. But when I saw the cards and the words and the artwork and the whole vibe of this deck, I was completely able to forget that part of it. But the gaslighting card and then other cards like Predator definitely had to sit with. But look, this is beautiful. I don't know why I didn't like this card, but still, you know, all of these cards, I was able to very easily find a very helpful message in them, setting aside the negative connotations or the negative ideas that I had around certain symbols and around certain words, certain terms. So now that I sat with those 3, 4, I think more 4, like 5, maybe 5 cards, it's truly a lovely little deck as a whole. And I, you know, already, as I said, got a lot of use out of it, not just for myself, but for clients as well. It's easy, quite straightforward images and words on the cards, which means that the message unfolds by itself, which is all I really wanted, a connection to a silly little oracle deck. Obviously, as for reading for myself with this deck, I like it, but I still do gravitate towards tarot way more often than towards oracle. So far I tend to use them together, and that has proven to be helpful in doing readings for myself and others, as I said. So those were the 4 decks that I got last year. Now, this year, in January, I already ordered a new deck and I'm super excited about it. I will let you know which one it is and why I got it in the next video, which will be up either immediately or really, really soon. I won't make you wait. Please let me know if you want to see a walkthrough or flip through of the Empathic Oracle. Maybe you want to see that, because I do have a lot of thoughts on each and every card, which might be straightforward, maybe not. We all bring these symbols and words in different directions anyway, but I kind of maybe feel like it would be nice for me to share, you know, as I said, as a tarot-brained person, what I feel with these oracle cards. You know, what I think of when, let's show a card I haven't shown yet. What I think of when I see this card, for instance, Hero. And that when I read with this deck, I'm very glad that I don't think of, oh, these are the struggles and things and advice that a typical empath deals with. This is really universal. Everyone deals with these things, including myself. And so this is very just good and straightforward advice, as I keep saying. Okay, quickly, before you leave and check out the next video, if you've actually made it this far into this video, please let me know by commenting empath, and maybe try to guess what deck I ordered. No cheating. So I want to say thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoyed this video and the next one. Bye.